Expected to appear at the Randburg Magistrate Court on 2 charges of culpable homicide and an alternative charge of negligent driving. You'll remember back in 2014, Zuma rear-ended a taxi after losing control of his Porsche on the M1 highway here in Johannesburg. The collision led to the deaths of Phumzile, Dube and Nanki, Mashaba. In 2015, the National Prosecuting Authority decided not to prosecute him, despite findings of an inquest that he was negligent in the accident. Afriforum then threatened private prosecution. To talk more, we are joined in studio by Kallie Kriel, who is the CEO of Afriforum. Kallie, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being here.
So we obviously had an about turn from the NPA on the whole issue. Talk to us a little bit more about the history of this case. So, you can bring people up to speed with where we are today.
Yes, I think the real victims here are the Dube family. They've lost the daughter, and they were not informed in 2015 when the NPA decided not to prosecute Mr. Zuma. They didn't know about it. It only became known in the so-called Gupta leaks emails. And that's why I want to commend the Dube family. When they found out, they were willing to take a stand with the assistance of Afriforum and Advocate Nell. And that is why we formed this private prosecuting authority. Not that we want to prosecute people necessarily, but to make sure that there is an alternative if there's political interference. The NPA should know that we can privately prosecute, and in this case it lent to enough pressure for them to do their job, and we are happy about it. I think it's not only a victory for Afriforum and the Dube family, but for everybody in the country that believes in the concept of equality before the law.
What do you think happened? Because, if we go back to 2014, Magistrate Lalita Chetty found in this exact same court, in the Randburg Magistrates Court, that Phumzile Dube's death was the result of negligence. She said it there. She also said that Duduzane Zuma did not act in a reasonable manner on the night when he rear-ended this minibus taxi. With all of this being handed down, the NPA said, OK, no, we're not going to take anything further. Now they've had an about turn. Why initially do you think they decided, definitely not, we're not pursuing this? Was it because of who his father was? Or
yes, most definitely. There's a lot of good people working at the NPA, but unfortunately the leadership under Shaun Abrahams has been captured by the previous president, and we've seen many instances of prosecutions not being taken because of political reasons, such as this case. But Boughton is, of course, not because Shaun Abrahams suddenly decided, well, he wants to go after Duduzane Zuma, but he knew if we're going the private prosecution route and we're successful, it would reflect very badly on the political decision not to prosecute. So that is the power of civil society, and we hope that things will change at the NPA. We need an NPA that needs to prosecute without fear, favour or prejudice. But while we see these kind of things, that's why we need a private prosecution unit to put pressure on the system.
OK, so it was this pressure that obviously has now resulted in where we are today. The NPA are now pursuing and reviewing this case. Will you still consider private prosecutions?
Yes, well, in this case, if the NPA does its job, we are happy. That is our first prize, if the NPA does their job. But there are many other cases where there is not prosecutions at the moment. We would look, for instance, at the Julius Malema matter, but hopefully also there the NPA would now decide to do their job. There's the matter of Advocate Jiba, which we believe if the NPA does not prosecute her, we will go the private prosecutions route. So there are many of these cases, but even if we don't get to court ourselves, if the mere existence of the private prosecution unit leads to the NPA doing its job, we're very happy about that, because we believe the NPA should be the first instance. So they should have the first bite at the cherry, and we are glad if they do their job.
What do you look for when you pick up a case and when you decide to privately prosecute? Is it purely cases that you feel that the NPA have dropped the ball, or you feel that no, this doesn't look right, something's at play here? Or do you look for other issues as well?
Well, actually, we can't really choose our own cases, because the NPA has the first bite at the cherry. So we can only take on cases that the NPA does not take on. and only cases where we believe there is a strong case to be answered to. So that's why most of the cases that we will privately prosecute would be cases where there would be some kind of political contact or political reason, not because we decide so, but those are the cases where people are not prosecuted. Normally, if you and I or any of the viewers are guilty of culpable homicide, they will be prosecuted. So the reason why we have to go on after a prominent person is because that person was not prosecuted simply because of their prominent position.
When somebody approaches Afriforum, who pays for it? I mean, for instance, let's look at the two families of the deceased, Phumzile, Dube and Nanki Mashaba. Who would be paying for this?
Afriforum would be paying for it, but that's the power of civil society. We have 209,000 members that contribute towards our funding, and that creates a possibility that we can have the best advocates, such as Advocate Nell, and that we can assist people that don't have the means to do it themselves.
Okay.
So we are very happy about the fact that at least now there will be justice for the Dube family, and I also want to thank everybody that assisted us to make it possible to fund this, to make sure that justice prevails.
You know, there are a lot of critics of Afriforum. There are. I mean, you know that. You'd be living with your head in the soil if you didn't think that way. And many people looking and saying, yeah, you particularly choose cases where you're against perhaps the politician, and that person being our former President Jacob Zuma. We've always known that there's been a lot of sort of, you've had a lot of opinions about our former president, and would you even be going for a case like this if it wasn't his son that was involved in this?
The fact is, as I've mentioned, we did not choose to go after Duduzane Zuma. The NPA chose the case for us when they decided not to prosecute him. The critics can, if they want to criticize us, they should know if the NPA did their job in the first place, there would be no reason for Afriforum to get into this matter. But also in terms of critics, we don't want to be seen as some kind of weird organization that is criticized all the time. But what we are saying is people should be fair, really, when they look at the Afriforum, and just ask the real questions. Did Duduzane Zuma, was he involved in an accident where he was negligent? The answer is yes. Should he be prosecuted? The answer is yes. Was he prosecuted? No. So there can be no real question that this is a good thing that happened, and Afriforum was glad to play a part in it. Okay,
very quickly, Kallie, as I let you go, what do we expect to happen in court today?
Well, it will most probably be a postponement, so I don't foresee that it will be a very long case, but then, of course, I don't think this should be a very long court case. The facts are clear. There's not too much in dispute, so hopefully it won't take too long for justice to prevail.
Yeah, and shackles. Did you have an opinion of the shackles that you saw in him?
Well, I don't think he should be in shackles. The fact is, we want equality before the law, and Duduzane Zuma should be treated as anybody else. That's why we want him prosecuted. But he's not a flight risk at the moment. His passport was taken, so I don't see really a reason why he should be in shackles. You don't want to humiliate somebody. You want to make sure that justice prevails, and that is the reason why we're taking on this case.
All right. We thank you for your opinions on this. Afriforum CEO Kallie Kriel talking to us about the court appearance of Duduzane Zuma. We'll be crossing to the court shortly. Do stay tuned tomorrow night.